Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of Find Your Edge. My name is Jordan Agoli, and I just want to thank you for joining us today, wherever you are watching or listening in the world. Today, we are joined by Valerie Swinton and Fred Kirby. They are the co authors of the book Good Grief. This book was written for anyone that has lost a loved one in their life, and it really is going to teach you about the process of handling grief and what to expect. I've read the book myself. It is really impactful. We're going to dive into it. And I'm just honored that Fred and Valerie are on the show today to share their journey with us. So, with all that being said, welcome to the show, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us,
Yes.
Jordan.
Thank you so much for being here. So, for everybody watching, I just want to give some context of how I know you both. Valerie, I've known you since I was in middle school. I went to
Yes.
middle school with your son, Colin.
Yes.
So 15 years, I
Yes.
think.
Long time.
Small
Mhm.
boy, I'm grown up now. So
Yeah.
that's how Valerie and I met. And Fred, this is our first time meeting today. So it's wonderful to meet you.
My pleasure.
And thank you guys for being here today. So I would appreciate if we could just start and each of you kind of give just a little bit synopsis of what the book is about, and then we can dive into each of your journeys and stories. And Valerie, if you could start, just tell us a little
Okay.
bit about the book.
Yes. The book, Good Grief, A Journey from Loss to Love, is just about losing a loved one. And in this book, it's losing a loss of a spouse and how we move forward with our life.
Yeah.
Basically, in a nutshell.
Yeah.
But what we want to share that each person's journey is different. Valerie's was different, mine's were different, and the other people in our book was different. So we just want you to know that everybody's journey is going to be different.
Yeah. And when I was reading the book, I made a lot of notes in it. And that was one of the things that I picked up on. And I was telling you guys right before we started, my family and I had been experiencing grief over the last 18 months with losing my uncle. And it's not a spouse related, but the process of grief and what we were going through is very similar. And it brought me comfort to know that everyone is going through different stages of grief, and you can get through it just with time and
Absolutely.
with processing your grief. And like you said earlier, there's nothing wrong with getting emotional. So
Absolutely. The thing is, you have to surround yourself by positive people. As hard as grief is, you can't do it alone. It's a path that you're going to travel alone, but you can't live it alone.
No, no, you cannot. No, you cannot. Well, I would love if we could just get started, because for everybody, I would recommend that you guys pick up the book and read it, because you're going to learn a lot more about their story and other people's stories along with the guided grief journey in that. And we're
Yes.
gonna dive into it. But Valerie, if we could just start with you just sharing your story with John and what you guys went through, and just tell our listeners about that.
Okay. Well, I met my husband back in 1976, actually. We were high school sweethearts. And at that time, he went on kidney dialysis. His kidneys started to not operate correctly. And so we dated in high school. We went to the senior prom, that sort of thing. And then I moved away after high school to come to Atlanta, Georgia, to Spelman College. And then John went on and pursued his dreams and his education and that sort of thing. So back in 1982, after I finished undergraduate, I went home, and I'm originally from California, Southern California. And I called John's brother's house. And at the time, he was still there in California. I was surprised because I had heard that he had moved to New York, because that's where, he was born and raised. And so anyway, he came over and we just started dating. And I was still living in Atlanta at the time. But we got married in 1988. He was on dialysis for 21 years. And then in 2004, I gave him a kidney. And when he passed in 2013, it wasn't his kidney, it was his heart. Just years and years and years of being on dialysis, his heart just gave out. And so I was very, very, death, grief is hard and death is hard. But I was just, I don't know, I was just stunned because he had suffered a heart attack in October the 12th of 2012, a slight heart attack. And so everybody thought that he was getting better. And then on January the 7th, he had the massive heart attack of 2013. And at that time, my son Colin was in his senior year in high school. And, it was devastating. And so basically, I didn't grieve Jordan until after Colin went off to college. I was so concerned about how he was doing and how he felt. And we had to get through his high school, his last semester of high school. And I just wanted that to be really special for him. And so once he went off to college, that's when I began my grief. I had to go through his dad's things. I had to clean out the closet and all of those things that you do after someone passes. For me, I did it. I didn't do it right away, but after Colin left, I began, doing those things. Some people, uh, what I've found, just dealing with grief, they'll keep their spouse's clothes or their loved ones' clothes in the closet. I read a story about this woman that couldn't throw away her husband's pickle jar, and every time she opened up the refrigerator, there was his pickle jar, but that was a part of her.
Yeah.
And so, as far as my grief journey is concerned, I went through counseling. My son also went through counseling. We did that for a little bit. I got involved in a grief counseling group on Facebook, and I did activities with other wives who had lost their spouses, their husbands, that sort of thing. I really dove really hard into my church. That really helped me a lot. I dove deeper into the Word, into God. I would turn on the television and watch uh, uh, faith-based pastors, speak, and that just really, really, really helped me tremendously. My family was there for support and friends, but I really believe as I dove deeper into the Word, and I was going to church, going to Sunday school, going to Bible study on Wednesday nights. That really, really helped me tremendously. And I also read some books that helped me, and I leaned on different scriptures through my journey. And the first year when I went to counseling, my counselor said the first year was going to be hard because it's the first after you lose a loved one. And in my case, losing a spouse. Because my husband and I, we were married for 24 years, and it was difficult. The first birthday, the first Christmas, your first anniversary, and so on. And I wouldn't say that it gets easier, but you tend to cope a little bit better each year. But that's basically the things that I did, and then of course. My granddaughter was born back in 2016, and that helped a lot.
Yeah.
New life after, someone passes away, then God gave us a beautiful person, my granddaughter, who brought new life to not only to me, but to the family. And that seemed to help a lot. So, yes.
Thank you for sharing that, Valerie. So when you said that John was on dialysis for
21 years.
21
yes,
years.
21 years.
And then had a small heart attack in October of 2012.
Correct.
So I know that he was sick, but were you guys prepared for him to be gone? Did it come out of nowhere?
No, we weren't prepared. We thought that he was going to cardiac rehab, and we thought that he was getting better. But what I found out later on, which knowing John and his personality, he didn't want us to worry. And I think that more things were going on with him that he didn't share. And I went to several doctor's appointments with him after that first heart attack. But, they have the doctor and patient confidential. I can't even say it right.
Confidentiality.
Yeah, confidentiality. Excuse me. And so I wasn't privileged to know about everything.
I see.
And so yes.
So that kind of a little bit came out of nowhere.
Yes.
When it turned.
Yes. Because that morning on January the 7th, I saw him go to work. And by 6:41 that evening, he was gone. Yeah. We had spoken 3 times that day. And I can really remember that day I was at the gym, and I was leaving the gym, and he called and said that he was leaving work, and he had to make a stop, and he was going to a meeting. And by 6:41, he had stopped by a friend's house, and the friend had left the room, came back, and he was non-responsive. And so they called 911 and that sort of thing. And he didn't make it. But we did not find out until probably 12 o'clock that morning. We didn't find out. That's when we got the call. And 12 o'clock that night, I should say. And that's when we received the call. And I just remember that evening I was in our home office, and I was working on an college application for Colin. And Colin had just really finished his homework, was in bed, and then he overheard the conversation when I was talking to the police department. And I remember him saying, "Mom, that doesn't sound good." Because that particular day, his dad told me that he would be home probably about 8:30. So I kept looking at the clock saying, okay, this is taking longer. And I said, well, maybe he stopped somewhere or something like that. And so I called him several times and couldn't reach him. And so that's kind of like how things happen. And so once I talked to the police that evening, they said they were sending some police officers to the house, and sure enough, they had come earlier, but I didn't hear them at the door. And so they came back, and that's when they also told me that he had passed away. And, I felt really numb. Yeah. I didn't know what to say or what to expect, or, I was just like in a trance. So yeah, that's kind of like how everything happened.
Yeah.
And he passed that Monday, and we had the funeral that Saturday. And we had to, move forward. I had to move forward because I had a son, that had to finish his high school year, his senior year, and had to get him in college. And it was my responsibility, the only parent still here. I had to take him to all the different colleges to visit, that sort of thing. And, it was really hard, but through the grace of God, I just, just really held on my faith. My faith has always been strong, but it was, I got even stronger because that's all I had at that time.
Yeah.
And, so.
You're very strong and you're really courageous. And it sounds like after John passed, you kind of had to jump into parenting both roles.
Yes.
And I remember reading in the book you had said, and you had just said on the interview, you had not grieved until Colin had gone off to school, and you had almost put your grief on pause.
Right. I put it on a shelf. I put it on because I wanted to make sure he was okay.
Yeah. Because
I knew that going to college is a big thing, and finishing, your senior year is a big thing. A lot of things happen in your senior year of high school.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to make sure that he was okay.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So that's basically how things went.
And I know you had said that you had gone to counseling as well, and Colin did too. Did you guys see a counselor together? Was this separate? Or both?
Well, I went first, and that's when the counselor told me that. Well, she shared a lot of different things with me, but she did emphasize that the first year is the hardest because it's the first year without your loved one.
Yeah.
And then I went to Colin and spoke with him about it, and we went together when he went to see the counselor. And I recall coming back home, and he's like, "Mom, I don't want to go back to the lady." Colin was like, "I don't know that lady. I don't want.
I don't
I don't want to
blame him.
talk.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to her anymore." And so he went one time. Yeah, he said he didn't want to go back. So,
Yeah.
I didn't force him.
No, and you don't want to force,
Mhm.
I'm just curious about the counseling because I think it's works for some people. It
Right.
doesn't work for others. Sometimes you don't want to share with someone that you
Right.
don't know. Other times it's uncomfortable to share your emotions in front of a family member.
Right.
So I think, and again, the theme of the book, each person has just a unique individual
Mhm.
experience. So it depends for them.
Mhm.
Uh,
And I had a sister, one of my sister-in-laws, she called me every single day,
mm,
making sure I was okay. And I really, really appreciated that. And then another sister-in-law gave me a journal. And that's how I came up with the journal in the back of the book to write my private thoughts every single day
Wow.
and reflect on it. I thought that would be a nice addition to our book, where people can write their private thoughts
Yeah.
to questions and really be honest about what you write down. And then you can go back and reflect. So that helped me a great deal as well.
How long do you think your sister-in-law called you? For what period of time? And I ask because I think when you lose someone, people are there for the first 2 weeks.
Mhm.
And then everyone's life has to go on and they stop calling. How long did she keep calling for you?
I would say probably about 2 months, 2 or
Mm,
3 months.
every day?
Yeah, every single day. And you're absolutely right. Colin shared with me, he said, "Mom, a lot of because my husband was a AAU coach, basketball coach.
Yep.
And he said a lot of his dad's friends would say, 'Man, I'm going to call you when you're in college, and, I'm going to keep up with you. And if you ever need anything, just let me know,' that sort of thing."
Yeah.
And when Colin shared that with me, I said, "Colin, they mean well, but majority of those people you're not going to hear from anymore. And it's not because they're not concerned. Everybody just goes on with their daily lives, and continue living. They have families and things like that. And, you know, um, they say that because there's nothing else to say, and that's comforting at that time.
Yeah.
But don't get mad." And I said, if you don't hear from them, and I said, and family members too, uh, you're going to not hear from family members. They were there for your dad's homegoing service, and they came over after the repast, and that sort of thing. But some of these people you won't hear from again, or it will be um, months later, years
Yeah.
later, that sort of thing, unless you call them or
Yeah.
say, "Hey, I'm okay," that sort of thing. But I said, don't be upset, but that's just how it is. So
It is. And
Mm.
I think it's a delicate balance because when you love someone that has then lost someone, you want to be there for them. But even again, in your book, you guys had said, sometimes there's nothing you can say that will comfort people. You just have to be there. And I think about following up with someone months after, because I've been in this position, you don't want to trigger them. They look smiling and they
right,
look like they're doing well. And if
right.
you were to say, "Hey, how are you doing with this loss?" you might have a breakdown.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So it is a fine balance, but I think for people listening, make the call. I would say. Would you guys agree
Yes,
with
I
that?
would agree.
Absolutely. Like you say, there's nothing you can say that's gonna comfort them. Just listen. Just listen. That's most important thing, I think. And just be there should they call you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Mm.
And I read in a book outside of yours a story where um, it was a mother that lost her husband, and her friend came over every day, and they would just sit and they wouldn't talk. They would just sit in the living room. They would drink tea.
Mhm.
Sometimes she would cry. Sometimes she would yell. Other times they'd watch a movie, and they would just sit. But she said, in hindsight, that's one of the main things that helped her get through it. and process it, was her friend being there, just to have that other human being.
Right.
Because when you lose someone, I think some people want to be in isolation, and then there might be a time where you almost want someone to reach out, but you don't want to have to ask. So it's that delicate balance.
Yes,
so
you got to carry on.
Yeah, you do. Thank you, Valerie, for sharing yours. Fred, could you share your journey with us as well?
Even though Valerie and I's path was similar, our journey was different. I met my wife at a club. I was the bartender.
Yeah.
And I was leaving work after work, and I was going to hang out.
Yeah.
And there was her and her girlfriend sitting at the bar. I said, let me speak to him. Me being myself, I'm a nice guy, Wasn't making a lot of money. I said, I'm going to go ask them, do they want a drink? And they both said, yes. I was thinking to myself, they're going to order the most expensive thing on the and they did. But that's how we met. I asked her for her phone number. She said, no, but I give you mine. And a couple of weeks later, she called me and said, would you like to go out with me? There's a dance that I want to go to. And she said, I'm going to come by and pick you up. I said, wow. But, one thing led to another. 4 years later, we married, have a son. That's when my journey started, Soon after pregnancy, she found out after a regular doctor's visit, their blood platelet count was down, and blood platelets is what clots your blood. And they were so low, they told her she needed to go immediately to the hospital, and they had to give her a transfusion to give her more blood, and that was her problem to start with. And then it was diagnosed as misconnected tissue disease. She had a very rigorous pregnancy. And that's when we found out that it was scleroderma at the end. First they removed the spleen because it would help your blood platelets to stay up. So they say.
Yeah.
And then they put her on a lot of steroids, Woo. And
can you tell people what scleroderma is for people that may not understand what it's going to do to the body?
It's an autoimmune disease. It actually the body attacks itself. It thinks your body is an outside intruder, and it goes to work and attacks you. Your connective tissues to all your organs inside of your body. And with scleroderma itself, it affects people differently. Her thing was, it was called the mummy disease, where your skin got very tight. You just draw up to nothing nearly, and her blood circulation in her extremities, she had a small finger amputated, 2 baby toes. And that was called Raynaud's disease, which is part of scleroderma.
Yeah. Thank you. I think it's sometimes people need to understand what they were going through, because I was not even familiar with it reading the book, and then I read, and it can get very severe, and it depends on each person, but it is brutal on the body.
Absolutely. She went into remission for a few years after our son was born. She went through all of the treatments, with her rheumatologists and other doctors. You think you're getting the best care, but I just want to let everybody know you are your best advocate,
Yes.
No matter what the doctors say, and one of the things I learned doing this, I read a book, it was called Natural Cures They Don't Want You to Know About It, by Kevin Trudeau. And he told about, he had the insight with doctors, and he said, doctors really don't care. A lot of them don't. Some of them do. They'll go out, they'll spend all their money, and they'll come back and give people surgery for no reason, After having all these fingers amputated and her toes, she had one finger left, the tip of one finger, and it was dying. It was turning black. I said, doctor, are you going to remove it? He said, no, it's going to fall off. And you think after all the pain she went through, why wouldn't this one fall off?
Yeah.
So, my personal opinion, insurance has a big effect on
They
that.
wanted the
The
money.
money is gone. No more surgery, y'all.
Mm.
But we lived through it, you know, my son, I know it affected him, to see his vibrant and lovely mother, turn different, she
Yeah.
just was different, from being real big, from all the steroids, she, at one point she had gained a lot of weight. But after, the disease took the toll on her body, she was a mere 80 pounds,
Oh my God.
So to have my son experience that was the hardest thing for me, to see him, how it impacted him, I was working at that time. I was working at night, I said, I was a real estate broker to start with, but I said she needed great insurance, So I took on a job so that I know she would have the best of care. So then I said, they had a nighttime position. And I said, I'm going to take that so I'll be home with her during the daytime, so doctor's appointments, which was many, to make sure, I could still work and take care of her at the same time. A lot of people forget about the caregivers. It's really tough.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I want everybody to know. Look out for your caregivers.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, again, just hearing what you had to go through, it takes a toll on, I think, mind, body, and spirit when you're caring for someone, because you love the person you're caring for, and it hurts to see them in pain. But then you're a human being too,
Yeah.
Right.
and you have to take care of yourself
Yeah.
as well.
Yes.
With your son, how old was your son when she was diagnosed with scleroderma?
She was diagnosed soon after, I guess, a year after he was born.
So very early on.
Yeah, but he didn't know anything about that until he probably got about 5 years old, and then he started seeing, the effects on her, the toll it was taking on her. But, and he was there when she died.
Mm.
I was at work, they called me and she said, her cousin just happened to be down from Ohio. They was there to come to look after her. That's what I'm talking about, family,
Yeah. Yeah.
They came to look after her first cousin. And it was like I was at work. They called me. She said she can't breathe. So they called the paramedics. And I come home. They was still working on her, but she was gone. For him to see all of that,
How old was he?
he was a junior in high school.
Because she was diagnosed when he was born. Was there ever a period over his lifetime that she was in remission where she was getting better?
Yes, she was in remission for several years, and she was a good mother, and he loved her,
Yeah.
But after a while, the disease just takes over, you think you got a hold on it, but it comes back.
Yeah.
A lot of people live a long time, in which, she was very young when she passed, but just stay around positive people. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Who were those positive people for you?
That was my family, That was my family, I love them, and they was there. My brother, he did all the arrangements, she wanted to be cremated. She didn't want to be a burden to her after her death, and she had her great friends who came in and wrote the obituary. I approved it, but they did everything.
Yeah.
Those were people I relied on,
Yeah. So for Carolyn, were you guys aware at that time that she was very sick? Because I know for you, with John, yours was definitely not what you were expecting.
Right.
Were you expecting for her to pass at that time?
After a while, we were, just right before she passed, we had a house fire.
Oh, wow.
I had to literally pick her up out of the bed and carry her to my neighbor's house, And, soon after, everything went great. They put us in a great place to live, of course, but you can't replace stuff, that personal belongings, that, pictures and stuff like that. But after we went to pick out new furniture for our new house after it was rebuilt, she picked out all the furniture. And she said, Fred, this is bachelor's furniture.
Mm.
Can you imagine somebody saying that
No.
to you?
No. What did you think when she said that?
I said, that's a lady with a big heart and loves me.
Mm. You get me choked up. Just thinking about,
Yeah.
just talking about it. One of the things that was really hard to read in the book, Valerie, you're just asking me that I got married last
Mhm.
year. We're only a year into marriage, but when you do get married, you talk about those things.
Yeah.
You know, if you were to lose, which didn't even want to have that conversation, but you both individually, your stories had said that each of your partners had said, I want
Yes.
you to move forward. I want you to
Yes.
find another mate. I think what you said is that is selfless, and that's someone that truly loves you. What were those conversations like? How, because they're saying that and you don't want it to be true,
Mhm.
but you also have to, I would imagine, honor their wishes. And
Mhm.
what was that like?
When we went to, my wife, she wanted to make sure that she wanted to be cremated. She wanted her ashes to be spreaded by her favorite casino, which was in Biloxi. And my best friend, he was the best man at my wedding. That's where he lived, him and his wife, So, soon after her burial, after she died, she was cremated. We had her ashes. My son and I, we took her to Mississippi, Biloxi. We stayed with my best friend, We've been friends for many years, We met in the Air Force in 1986. And his wife said to me, she said, Fred, I was kind of upset at you during the homegoing celebration. And she said, you looked a little bit happy. And I smiled. I said, sure, you know what? I was happy. She wasn't in no more pain. You wasn't there when she asked for more pain medicine or when she had her toes amputated. You wasn't there for when she lost her house and lost some of her most prized possessions, I grieved then, I grieved for 2 years. So my grieving is basically grieved out,
Yeah.
That's why I say our journey was different, although similar paths, our journey was different.
Mm. And you had to watch that, and you were grieving during that time.
Yes.
And Valerie, for you, what was that conversation like? John had said that to you?
Yes, I recall one day we were in the bedroom, and this is shortly after he had his first heart attack. And he was getting ready to leave somewhere, but he was looking in the mirror, I think fixing his tie, that sort of thing. And I was watching him, and I said to him, I said, John, if anything ever happens to you, I said, I don't think I could get married again. And so he stopped doing what he was doing. And he said, Valerie, if something, first of all, he said, we've had a good marriage. God has blessed us tremendously. We didn't even know whether we could have a child with me being on dialysis. And Colin is our gift from God. And he says, but if you want to get married, get married. If you want to date, date. Just don't live your life around Colin because he's going to move on and do his thing. But he says, I don't want you sitting in this house, woe is me, being depressed. You're too young. You need to live. And I think reflecting back, I think that he kind of knew that. He just didn't want us to worry. And so he went through his day as normal, But I think that the doctor had probably told him that he would need a new heart.
Mm.
And I think that he just decided that I'm just going to go on about my day, live my life, and whatever happens, happens, that sort of thing. But I think that he just didn't want Colin and I to worry. And but that's the conversation that we had, and I'm really glad that we had that conversation because it brought some closure. Um, and and also what was a little different that I realized is that January, at the beginning of the month, you pay the bills and all that. Well, this particular January, everything was done. He had paid the bills on time, everything was done. So when he passed on January the 7th, I didn't have to pay any bills that month because he had taken care of those things. So I began just reflecting on things that I missed. But after, he passed away, I started thinking about, you know, that he kind of knew something. I remember going to a doctor's appointment with him, and he told the doctor, he says, Doc, I can start cardiac rehab, right? And the doctor said, yeah, I think you'll be fine. But I think he knew.
Mm.
And I think the doctor said, you're going to have a heart. Your heart is not functioning the way it should.
Yeah.
So he was prepared, And one thing about my late husband, he loved the Lord. He had a relationship with God. And so when it was time for God to call him home, he was prepared. And so I know he went to heaven, and I was sharing with Fred that when we first moved in our house, Colin was turned 2 years old. And I remember going in his dad's closet, and on the back of the door, he had a list of things that he wanted to teach Colin. And to ride a bike, to throw a football, to catch a ball with baseball and basketball, and all these lists of things. And then I noticed through the years, he would start scratching those things off. And I think that he knew that he may not live long enough to see those things happen. So he wanted to make sure that he taught Colin those things.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget Colin expressing to me after his father passed, and he said, "You know what, Mom? Dad got me to 18 years of age. He taught me how to be a man." And I was like, that is just wow. He did. He lived. The Lord made sure he was in his life for 18 years.
He accomplished his dream and goal.
Right. 18 years.
He was an amazing man and father. I remember him at the games, giving advice and coaching and yelling
he was
to
always
us.
coaching from
He was
the
at
side.
every game.
Yeah, every game.
Every single game.
Every single game. And I remember when he had the first heart attack, he would go to Colin's game and he said, my heart is not getting better. I mean, I had to kind of stop just walking across the court, and climbing the bleachers because it wasn't getting enough blood, circulating to his heart, that sort of thing. So, but I've always known, I just had this feeling with John being on dialysis. I always knew that, and he always told me that he was going to go before me, but I kind of felt that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But you keep hoping and wishing that things are going to be fine. And then when I gave him the kidney in 2004, things got better. But the years and years, 21 years of being on dialysis is just a lot of strain on the heart. And your other organs are working fine, but you got to have a heart.
Yeah.
And when you're on dialysis, you're cleaning the blood, and that's pulling on your heart. And he went to dialysis 3 times a week. 3 times a week. And he was an amazing man, amazing father. Even when he went to dialysis, he would still get out, when Colin was playing football at GAC, or when he was playing when he was younger, he was still out there, helping the coaches, and he had just gotten off dialysis. Same thing with basketball. He just didn't let what was going on with him interfere with making sure that he was being a good husband, a good father, a good coach. That's one thing. He didn't make excuses. He could have had a handicap sticker in his car, and he never had a handicap sticker in his car. I suggested that at one time. He says, "No, I don't need that." But he could have had that all these years, but he didn't want that.
He was a man of faith and dedication,
Yes,
and loyalty,
yeah,
and commitment.
right, commitment.
Yeah. Do you think for both of you, if Carolyn and John if you hadn't had that conversation about moving forward with your life, it's okay to date, it's okay to be with someone else, do you think that may have held you back from ever pursuing anything?
For me, I think, and I know in my heart and in God's eyes, we all are put here for a reason, and my reason was to care for Carolyn and to be the spouse and to be her giver. I think I did my job. My what I promised I would do as her husband, take care of her and to death do us part. So I don't think, even with her not saying anything, I know in my heart I done all I could do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel the same way. We had that conversation, that sort of thing, and I didn't start dating until like 3 to 4 years after he passed.
Mm-hmm.
But I was there with him from the beginning to the end. We kept our vows, and just like Fred said, until death do you part. We were there for our spouses, and I just felt that it was time, to move forward with that. And I'll never forget my pastor, Bishop Hawkins, of Voices of Faith. I was picking up my granddaughter at the daycare, and he was picking up his son. And when we got out of the our cars, we started talking, and he told me, he says, "Valerie, I'm glad that you've moved on." He could see that I had moved on. Some people feel guilty about that.
Understand? Yeah.
Yeah, they feel guilty about that.
Survivor's guilt. That's
right.
what it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah, they feel guilty about dating. But I think in order to heal, you have to move on.
Yeah.
Because you still have people that still love you. You're still needed. And God still has a great plan for your life.
Yeah, can you imagine God putting two of the most perfect people in their spouses' lives?
Yeah, no, it's well, you said moving on. I also, and I got this from the book too, moving on doesn't mean you forget.
Right.
No, you don't.
You keep them in your heart.
And that's something I misunderstood. Just as I'm in my first year of marriage, we've talked about that, but also just other people we've lost in our lives.
Right.
When you move on from the grief, that doesn't mean you forget
Absolutely.
the love. If anything, you hold on to that maybe even a little stronger.
Absolutely.
And you keep going forward.
Absolutely.
That was a big lesson.
And you have different, I would say, like for instance, when I go to the gym, I still wear John's workout gloves. You have different artifacts and things that you still keep. He was small, as he was tall, but he was small frame, and so I still have a lot of his workout shirts and things that I could fit in, and I wear those, that sort of thing, because he's still a part of me. But I've moved on. I'm not grieving,
but he's a part of you.
Yeah, because he's a part of me.
And people wonder and say, how can we talk about our spouses to each other?
It's one of the questions I was going to ask.
And it came so easy, because we understood each other. We know what each other had went through. So it was so easy for me to say, Valerie, this is what Carolyn and I done, and Valerie, the same thing. We listen, attentively,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we both dated, we dated, well, I'll speak for myself. I dated different people, but a lot of them did not understand my grief, and some of them got irritated with me because I would talk about John, and they would say, "Well, you're not over him yet," that sort of thing. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that makes me mad just
Right.
hearing that.
And that's because they didn't they don't understand.
Yeah.
And so if you haven't been through what Fred and I have gone through, you just don't understand. And I think that's why we work so well together, because we understand grief, and we understand losing a spouse. And so and you just don't throw them out the window, and forget about them. Those memories stay with you forever. I still go. I don't go as often, but I still go to the gravesite. I'm going to go next week and put flowers on the grave. Now, Colin still has a hard time. Yeah. He still has a hard time, because I remember when he first, after the funeral, and then months later, he went to the gravesite, and I went with him. And he's like, "Mom, this is so final. He's really, really gone. It's fine." Because he and his dad, as you know, Jordan, were very, very close.
Best friends.
Yeah, best friends. If you saw John, you saw Colin, and vice versa. And the day that he passed away, Colin was blowing up his phone, because when he would leave practice, they would always talk until he pulled into the driveway.
Yeah.
About basketball and, what he did that particular day. So they always had that conversation. And I just remember, reflecting back at the homegoing service, one of John's good friends, who's a coach, said that one thing that John told him is that when Colin started driving, he said that he missed those morning conversations and afternoon conversations they would have in the car, coming back. That was kind of hard, to give that up.
You get used to your routine.
Yeah, you get
that you have with people. So for you two, before we get into how you both met one another, I know you had said you had started dating 3 or 4 years after Fred. How about yourself? How long?
You know what? I think it was relatively soon. I'm thinking that it was about 6 months after my wife had passed away. I felt like she wouldn't want me to, be unhappy. She wanted me to be happy.
Yeah.
I've done what I could do for her, and making her happy, making her life and her transition, to her next life as easy as possible, So she would want me to be happy.
Yeah.
So I went through dating sites, and just a normal people, hey, you want me to meet somebody?
Was it uncomfortable for either of you when you first got started? Or actually, that's a silly question. I'm sure it was strange or a little uncomfortable. How did you navigate that as you got started?
It was different, and I tell everybody, I'm Fred, and who I am right now. I used to be Carolyn's husband for the last 20 years. I got to find out who I am before I can become anything to anybody, So that was my goal, to find out who I was again.
You yourself, not to other people.
Not to
who
other
am
people.
I to me?
That's right. You're right. Because, like I said, for the last 20 years, we was married just 2 months shy of 20 years. And I said, that's all I've been. Fred, Carolyn's husband. She could sing it. Fred. She was always the life of the party, She was always proud of who I was and her, and me being her husband, So I, too, was glad to be her husband.
Yeah. So it was just something new. It was something different that you both went through. How did you two meet?
You want the real version of it, the story?
Whoa. You gotta be careful.
Valerie, I want your version.
Okay.
Which I'm going to go with is the real version.
All right. My version is the real version.
Okay.
We met on a dating site called OKC, which is OkCupid.
I've heard it. Yep.
Okay.
I'm familiar, yeah.
And I decided to go on this dating site because I was watching one afternoon the Michael and Sarah Strahan show
Yeah.
that came on in the afternoon. And I recall Sarah saying that she met her husband on OKC, OkCupid.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, she's on television and everything, a celebrity. Let me check out that site. And so I went on that site. I posted some pictures. And you want to take it from there?
Well, I guess I swiped right. I met, we chatted for a while, and eventually, I don't know, I think Valerie gave me her number and said, call me.
No, let me tell you, no, that's not how what really happened
See,
was,
her version.
what really happened was, so yes, he swiped right.
Yes.
Okay. And he saw some pictures of me. But when I was on those dating sites, and only 2 dating sites I was ever on was Tinder. Have you heard of that one?
I have.
Tinder and OkCupid. And so I would change up my pictures. So the first time he swiped, he saw me, and then he just probably said, she's all right. And then the second time he went back and swiped, I was in a bathing suit. And I was in the ocean. I was standing up. My legs were apart because the waves were, really hitting hard. And so I was trying to balance myself. And my girlfriend took the picture. And so he saw that picture, and then he was like, oh, ooh la la. Look at this pretty chocolate drop. And so anyway, he reached out to me again, and because I didn't give you my phone number right away.
Right.
And we exchanged phone numbers. And then I think you called me.
I called
because you were working in the yard.
The yard. Yes, yeah. I had a plumbing problem.
Right.
I had a water leak, my main water leak. I did it myself.
There you go.
And so we just started talking, and then the rest is history. He asked me out on a date. The first date that we went on was at Chili's. So we met at Chili's.
Nice.
And he was a little late.
How
late?
Just a little bit.
You can't give him too much, right?
A little late.
No, this is this is all access right here.
But after that, we sat down and we started talking and that sort of thing. I wasn't sure about Fred at first, because when we finished eating and everything and we walked out, to our cars and everything, we're in the parking lot, and I said, well, where's your car? And he said, it's over there. And he says, where's your car? And I said, it's over there. Well, he didn't walk me to my car. So I was like, okay, strike 2.
What was strike 1?
You're late.
You were late.
You're late.
Strike 2, he didn't walk me to my car. He didn't walk me to my car. He went directly to his car and said, okay, I'll see you later, that sort of thing. And so anyhow, we went on another date, and that time, and I think I mentioned that to you, and we went to Red Lobster, and he was there sitting, waiting on me. And that time,
early this time,
he was there before I got there, and he walked me to my car, and then we just started dating. And
well, I knew you then, Valerie.
Right. But I'm going to share something else. He was dating someone else. And he mentions that in the book. He dated someone for 9 years.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
If you recall that.
I do remember. I do recall.
And so I mentioned to him, I said, we just started dating. If you feel like, because you dated someone for 9 years, that's a long time. You might as well say 10 years. And so I said, if you really feel that person is really important to you, go back to that person.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. And I guess, you can take it from there.
I think I've just done my soul searching. Where am I with this relationship?
Mm-hmm.
If it's the relationship that God was meant for me, I would be probably married by now, you know? And I'm just seeing us going different roads. We don't have the exact same interests anymore, So I thought about Valerie. She really impressed me. And she was always open and honest. So we just had a bond. Just I think we talked about our husband more than we talked about
Right,
anything else.
right.
It was.
Yeah.
He
It
talked
was.
about Carolyn. I talked
It was.
about John,
It was
and
refreshing.
And you
Right.
didn't feel uncomfortable or
no, it didn't
yeah.
make us
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
It
Yeah.
didn't.
Whereas it did to other people.
Other people
Yeah.
it did,
Mhm.
but for us it didn't. And I recall
Wow.
the first time I met one of your brothers, he had mentioned, because I was talking about John, and he says,
Right. Yes.
well, you probably need to stop talking about your husband. And I told him that can't happen. I said, because Fred and I, we've already talked. We've already, talked about that. He can talk about Carolyn as much as he wants to, and he felt the same way about John. I would
Mhm.
never
That's
tell
beautiful.
him not to talk about his beloved wife of his, son Jackson.
Yeah.
No, and they experienced so much together, and and I looked at that. I wasn't mad at him, but I looked at that as someone not really understanding grief
Mhm.
and being married. Everybody, takes their vows and that sort of thing, but I don't really think people really respect the saying until death do you part. I don't think they really understand
No,
that
they don't.
meaning.
Mhm.
And so I was so impressed with Fred by him being a male, staying there, from the beginning to the end until the Lord called
Yeah.
Carolyn home, because some men wouldn't have done that. And some women wouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
They would have jumped ship a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's
And
funny. I'm sorry.
uh-huh.
I was gonna say it's funny that she should say that. We had a customer who bought our book. She said our book was whitewashed. I didn't have a good marriage. I'm not grieving for him.
Yeah.
We got our best relationship now that he's gone.
Right.
Dang.
Yeah.
Can you
Yeah.
imagine that?
Dang. Yeah.
And then you had another person to say that pretty much she was glad that her husband was gone because he was a no good son of a, blankly
Mhm.
blank, So
Wow.
Fred and I, we were blessed to have a good marriage.
Yeah.
That same person felt that our
Our marriage was
just fake.
faking.
It was fake.
Yeah.
That's
But-
everybody
Right.
doesn't have bad relationships.
No.
And I'm listening to her. I want to get critical, but she go on. She tell me about her father, and my father had 3 wives. 2 sets of families.
Yeah.
So I know she had a deep issue.
Mhm.
Our book wouldn't help her.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and everyone has different experiences.
Yes,
you know?
exactly. So
Yes,
you have to
yes,
respect
absolutely.
that
You
have
experience.
to
I
respect
said,
that.
well,
Yes.
our book is not going to be
Did she
for
seem
you.
a little angry when she was?
She was.
Yeah, she was very angry.
like, how
was
dare you write this?
She said, I'm calling as as a good person. I want to see how our book affected her. Have you written a review yet? Have you finished
Yeah.
the book? No, I'm not gonna give a review. I haven't given one, and I won't give one.
Because she said it wouldn't be a good review.
What a big deal.
Exactly. I said I can appreciate that. If this book, she said, but if this book is not for you, it's not for everybody.
Right.
We just sharing our journey. This is our story. So if you don't relate to you, I'm sorry. But I appreciate you not giving us a review.
Yeah.
She said, but I want your book to be a success. I said,
Mhm.
I'm sure it will because God commissioned this book.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing we have. The first couple of pages, we say, thank you, God, for giving this vision.
Yeah.
Because how this book came about was shortly after the pandemic hit. I woke up one morning and I was watching the news just like everybody else. And the Holy Spirit spoke to me and said, you need to write a book about grief and how to move forward. And of course I said, really, God? I was like, I'm finished with school. I have 3 degrees. I'm retired. I've been retired 10 years, et cetera. Now I'm living my best life, but to go back writing again. And God said, yes, you need to write a book. And so I am an ordained deaconess at my church, and I truly believe that when God speaks to you, you have to be obedient to his word. And so I called Fred that particular morning when that happened. And I said, God said for me to write a book about grief and how to move forward, because so many people were sharing on the news that they had lost loved ones and
Yeah.
lost spouses, and they didn't know how they were going to move forward. And they just didn't know what they were going to do. And, everybody didn't understand COVID at that time, and the pandemic, everybody
Yeah.
was kind of, what's going on? And people were just, every day. I remember Colin coming into my bedroom saying, Mom, look at the count of how many people are dying every single day. This is not good. And so when the Holy Spirit spoke to me, I called Fred and I said, God wants me to write a book. And I asked him, I said, would you like to collaborate with me on a book? I said, because you also have a story to tell about the loss of your wife and how you've moved on. And so Fred said, yeah, I'll do that.
Wow.
And so then I said to him, I said, the first thing that we have to do is we have to find a good editor. I said, a really good editor. And so I went on that app called Nextdoor and I asked for recommendations of a good editor. And people start sending me, editors.
Yep.
And so I went with this one particular editor. God said, go with this person. And we called her, we shared our story, and she said, yeah, I'll work with you all. And the rest is history. And so we published a book on August the 14th. And, and we've been moving forward with the book ever since. Our book, Good Grief, A Journey from Loss to Love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And how long have y'all been together present day as right now?
Approximately 2.5 years.
Yes, 2.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, we met in July of 2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
So about 2.5 years. So about a
Right.
year later, you both you have the calling to write the book.
Right.
And
right.
what did you think when she called you and she said, "Hey,
Valerie, I ain't no writer."
That's exactly what he said. I'm not a writer.
But I have a story I can share,
Right.
though.
Yeah.
And the editor put it in the words that I should be saying it.
Yeah, she was really, really good. Once we started on the project, and basically that was that August, because we kind of brainstormed and we went on vacation, and we said when we come back, we'll start. And that was August of 2020.
Yes.
Right, 2020.
that's when you made the decision, like, we're going to do this."
Right, we're going to do this. And she just told us, she said, you guys just write. We came up with different themes and that sort of thing. And she says, you all just write. Don't worry about what order it should go in. Don't worry about dotting your I's, crossing your T. That's why you hired me. That's my job. And that's what we did. And it just started evolving. The book
Just going from there.
Yeah, from there.
Now, I know that you said you had a vision, a calling from God to write the book, but when you're getting started, what was the why behind it? What do you think was that reason? Like, we're going to write this to help who? What did you have in your mind at that point?
Wow.
I would say to help those who have lost loved ones. And I also want to state that grief is not only losing a loved one or losing your spouse, in case that's what our book is about, losing spouses. But grief is going through a divorce, losing a job, losing a pet, losing a home or moving away from a home, that your childhood home that you've lived in there all your life. And then now you've got to move. Your parents moved, and, because that happened to us. After my father passed, we sold our house in California. Matter of fact, I just got a text message from a very good high school friend the other day saying, and she's a veterinarian, said that we were doing this clinic and for pets and that sort of thing. And I just drove past your old house, that sort of thing. So, so grief is all of those things. Grief is grief. I really believe people are grieving during this pandemic.
Can you imagine
Yeah.
a nation grieving?
Yeah.
a world.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
world
the
is
world,
the world
yes,
is grieving.
absolutely.
Everyone,
Yeah.
everyone's lost someone.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate you just saying that, because obviously death is one of the most worst parts
The
of
number
grief.
one.
The number
Yes.
one.
Yes.
The number one.
Yes.
But you're right. It is about moving. It is about a job loss, losing anything.
Anything.
Losing
life.
privileges.
Privileges,
Right.
a routine,
Yeah, your routine.
you know, normalcy in life.
Right.
You know, going to the grocery store when the pandemic first hit was
Right.
terrifying.
It was.
You know, we didn't know what was going to happen.
Right. They wanted you to wipe down your packages once you,
Everything.
you got them
Yeah.
home, everything. And so I believe now the world is still grieving.
Yeah. So when writing the book, you have this idea, you guys get started. I know writing a book just doesn't matter what you're writing about. Making a book is not easy. Did you find it challenging to revisit those memories, or almost cathartic to process it and put it out there, or a little bit of both?
Well, I would say a little bit of both, but since God gave me the vision and I shared it with Fred, it to me it didn't seem challenging. I think the only challenging part, but it wasn't where I was crying and didn't want to go back, but just reflecting on everything and remembering everything. Just trying. That's the challenging part. Yeah. Just reflecting and remembering, what happened and what were you doing during that that grieving stage, that sort of thing. That was the challenging thing. But writing the book was easy, because it was coming from our heart and it was our story.
Yeah.
It was our story. So we're telling our story in the book.
It's all true. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't get that wrong.
Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
you can't
No.
Yeah, you may miss some dates and times, frames, but as far as it's our journey.
Yeah.
It's our grief journey. And then with Fred, with us traveling parallel paths and Fred and I sharing almost similar journeys, it was easy. It was fun. Because we knew that at the end we were going to help people.
Tremendously help people.
Tremendously.
Yeah.
And it helped us.
And it helped us.
Oh, yeah.
And it also helped our editor.
Yeah.
Because, she didn't tell us until months later how this project of writing our book, Good Grief, A Journey from Loss to Love, how that even helped her about the things that she was going through.
Yeah. And you never, like we were talking about before, you never know.
Right.
And
she was going through some deep things.
Yeah. So you guys launched the book in when? September
10th. We had our first launch.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
How's it been? This is December 14th. We're filming this, so it's been about 3 months.
Yes.
How's the response been from people?
Ain't no stopping us now.
No, sir.
We just had our 11th book signing this
Wow.
past Sunday. We had it at Morrow's City Hall in Stockbridge, and it was a toy giveaway. And the person that was over it had different vendors, and she reached out to us and asked if we would like to be a vendor.
Yeah.
And it was such a blessing because it was a toy drive for the kids.
Oh,
and
man, seeing the kids' faces.
Yeah.
as they got their toy, was just awesome.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So, but it's been really fun meeting people.
Tell me about some of the people, because before we started the interview, you were interacting with some people. But share some of those stories of the interactions with people that have read the book and maybe were just buying it then.
We've noticed a lot of people buying the book aren't reading it right away, but I can speak to some of my great friends, Carolyn, first cousin, Fred. I bought the book. Oh, it is a blessing to me, I didn't know exactly what you was going through, and some people said it's just a gentle guide for them, to help them go through their process.
So if someone may not be equipped with the tools that they need to walk that journey of grief, and what they were saying is the book help give them that.
Well, just sharing the journey with other people, you have something in common, with people. I think that's the, camaraderie, I got a friend to lean on. They went through the same thing, my grief ain't her grief, but it's just as bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then also you have in our book, we have 9 other people sharing their story. So you
Yeah.
have a different perspective. So you have different genders, different nationalities, that sort
Yeah.
of thing. And everybody's grief story, journey is different from ours.
Yeah. Can you tell me about that? Because I was a little taken aback when I read all those stories because they are so different. Where did that idea come from to have other people share too? Because that had a really big impact too on the book.
I think I came up with that idea. I said we worked very closely with our editor. And I think one day when we were meeting with her, I said it would be nice to have some other folks sharing their grief story. And some of these people, I know one particular person, I've known her since first grade. And we've all have become Facebook friends. We're on the different social media platforms. And through the years, they have shared their loss of their spouse, on social media. And I remember mentioning to Fred and our editor, I said, it would be nice if, we reached out to them, and our editor said that would be good. And so we reached out to them and shared what we were doing with this book, and they all agreed.
Wow.
Yeah, because we initially we was gonna include everybody,
Right.
but then we said, oh, we got to narrow this down.
Right.
Yeah.
We was trying to get too many people who've been
Right.
grieving,
Right.
but we want to narrow it down
Right.
to spouses or someone who lost family, But then we said we're gonna do it for spouses.
For spouses.
Yeah.
For
But it's going to
spouses.
include everybody
Right.
in the end.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And what you guys were sharing, I think, can help everybody, even if they haven't just lost a spouse. The lessons that you shared and what people can expect from grief can, I think, apply to all people.
It can,
Yes.
Just remember, just take your time. You're not in a hurry. Don't listen to other folks trying to get you to go past your grief too soon. Because you never heal if you don't grieve. You got to grieve.
Yeah.
And I grieved for several years doing while she was living, even
Mhm.
though I didn't grieve after she died. I had a change of heart, started to second guess myself. Could I have done this better? Maybe I should have done this better. But never the process itself,
Yeah.
I'm sure there are things I could have done better. It was new to me, I
Yeah.
just did the best job I knew how to do.
Exactly. I wrote, when I was reading the book, I marked it with notes and highlights and pulled some excerpts I'd like to talk about. One of the lines that I wrote down, you said, "Still on our journey, we want people to understand and know that you are stronger than you think, needed, loved, going to get through it, going to make a difference, and alive for a reason." This really hit me hard. And what I wanted to talk about was, is it expected for someone to experience a sense of hopelessness and meaningless after losing someone that they love? Because this line is powerful and it says you're still alive for a reason and you're still here for a reason. But I know people probably feel hopeless and there's no more meaning to life.
I think it's based on the depth of your love or the hate that you may have had for the individual who passed, how hard you take it, and you find a lot of times, I just noticed you have the older generation, they won't live long if they lose a spouse. They don't have that hope anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. See, death is so final.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that hits the person like, wow, it's final. But you still have life in you. You've got to move forward.
Yeah.
Like Fred said, to heal. But I think at first they feel like, why should I live? This person was my everything. And, I can't go on. But you have to know that and realize that you're still needed. You
And
still have
loved.
and loved. You still have family members. You
People
still
still
have children.
people still need you.
People still need you.
Your
Yeah.
son.
And in my
Yeah.
case, my son still needs me. Now I have a
Mhm.
granddaughter, that needs me, that sort of thing. My family members, so I think that, you have to move forward
Yeah.
in order to heal.
and moving forward doesn't mean forgetting.
Right.
That's
Never
my
forget.
biggest
Yeah.
takeaway from the
Yeah.
interview and from
Right.
this.
Moving forward does not mean forgetting.
You know,
Yeah.
I want to say one thing.
Yeah.
My son had a baby before he was out of high school. So that was another purpose for me, having a grandbaby, that changed my whole life, and what I had to live for.
Yeah.
Brought more life.
And it brought, yeah.
And brought more life.
Yeah. And you never would have known.
They always say, that's your shadow. Where is he today?
And we have so much in common with each other because Colin and Marisha, they had Chloe. Marisha became pregnant in their junior year of college,
Yep.
where Fred, his son, was
junior
year in high school.
Yep.
We both have sons. We both have grandchildren.
So many parallels.
Right.
Right next to
We both had poodles.
Same color.
We both drive black cars.
Wow.
He grew up with 6 brothers. I grew up with 6 brothers.
Oh my gosh.
We live 8.5 miles away from each other.
Wow.
What else, honey?
So much more.
Just
Now you're both authors?
Yeah, we're
Yes.
both authors. Yes, we're
And we
both
love
authors.
life. We love traveling.
Yeah, we
so-
love traveling. So
Yeah.
we have so much in common. It's just, and we just said God orchestrated this. God orchestrated. God gave me the vision for the book, but he knew that Fred also had, a story to share.
And put me in her life
Right.
Yeah.
for that reason.
Right.
Do you think writing this book brought you two closer together?
Oh yes, most
Oh, yes.
definitely.
We had
Yeah.
hours and hours. We just talking.
Yeah, just talking
bouncing
about it.
back around.
Yeah.
Should we say there's who should we get?
Right.
Carl,
Yeah.
one of my best friends. I helped live his journey. I seen his wife get sick. I seen her go to the hospital.
Yeah.
He was my broker, one of my brokers as being a real estate
Yeah.
person, So I can actually say I know Carl, and I know his journey, He took care of his wife, even though he went through prostate cancer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I said, when I grow up, I want to be like Carl.
Now, there's 3. The book is split up into 3 parts. You've got your guys' story at the beginning, and then you've got the other individuals that were sharing their experiences, and then the guided grief journey at the
Yes.
end. I really appreciated that you guys answered the guided grief journey first,
Right.
because that gave some perspective.
Yes.
And I started on mine. I didn't finish because it was hard.
It's
Right.
tough.
It's very hard.
Just keeping 100 with you,
Yeah.
I did not finish.
Yeah,
I
that's
started doing it,
okay.
and I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, this is heavy.
Yeah.
It hurts.
It
Yeah, it
hurts.
hurts.
I don't feel like crying my eyes out right now, so I'm gonna push
Yeah.
this a little bit later
And
on."
you have to be honest.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to be honest.
Yeah.
You can't sugarcoat. You gotta. That's why we
Yes.
say you have a chance to write your private thoughts. It's for you.
Exactly. Well, I was gonna ask, where did that come from? The guided grief journey, and how did you come up with the questions? Because they are like, they're zingers. They really make you have to dig deep.
Right. We just brainstormed with
We
our editor.
brainstormed with
Yeah.
our editor.
Right.
She was a true guide,
Yes.
Yeah.
She would ask us a question, we would bounce question back to her.
Right.
So I think it was collaborated
Right.
between the 3 of us,
Absolutely.
I said, she asked her the questions. I
Right.
said, okay, that'll go good in the
Right.
journal,
Yeah.
And then she said, I want you guys to answer it
Answer it.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And be honest about it, even though it's hard. And it was hard. Now I will say that was challenging.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That was
That
challenging.
was the most challenging
Yeah, I
part.
think that
'Cause we
part.
had to dig deep.
Yeah, we had to dig
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some questions I said, I don't have an answer for
Right.
that,
Right.
And you don't want to look for it
No,
either.
Right.
no, I'm not
Right.
gonna make it up, so
Yeah.
other than what I said before.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Another question that I had that just sparked, because like I'd shared with you guys before, my family and I lost my uncle of April of 2020 in a really just tragic event. And that was the first time I experienced grief. I'd lost people before that I was close with, but never someone like this, like, losing a piece of me. It created a severe amount of anxiety in me that I would lose someone else that I love. I had a lot of fear right before I got married that my wife was going to die because I woke up on Thursday and by Thursday night my uncle was gone. So I thought, is this going to happen again? I had it about my mother, my father, and everybody. It has decreased a little bit, but as we're being all honest in this interview, I still have that severe anxiety. Did that happen to either of you? Did that anxiety ever creep up that you would lose someone else? And if so, how have you navigated that?
I'm going to say one thing, and I tell a lot of people this. Hopefully you'll live long enough to experience it.
Yeah.
I've lived a long time. I'm 62, so I've seen a lot of people die. But the thing is, hopefully you live long enough to experience it.
Yeah, I didn't feel any anxiety or anything like that. Because my first loss was my mother, and I was age 10.
Mm.
And then my second loss was losing a brother, a younger brother, in a drowning incident. And then in between there, grandparents, uncles.
Oh.
And and then I lost my father at age 25. So I experienced grief so early on. Matter of fact, before John and I got married, I had people to say, are you sure you want to do this? Because he may not live a long time because he's on dialysis, that sort of thing. And at that time, we didn't know that we were compatible. And how we found out that we were compatible was we had the same blood type as when Colin was born.
Wow.
And that's why we say he's a gift from God. But I didn't feel any anxiety or anything like that because I had experienced grief early, at age 10.
Yeah.
And to lose your mother at that age was devastating.
Yeah.
And back then they didn't do counseling or anything like that. You just went on like any ordinary day,
Yeah.
So you just had to deal with it.
Yeah. So you had the highest level of grief from a young age.
Yes. And I've had people to reach out to me that's purchased the book, particularly college classmates. They've written me and said, Valerie, I finished high school in 1976. My brother passed away in a drowning accident, I should say, in 1976. So they said to me, you came to college and you just buried your brother. We never knew that.
Yeah.
We're just finding out 40 some odd years later, that when you came to Spelman College, you just buried a younger brother.
Yeah.
Because he passed away in August and I had to report to school at the end of August. So yeah.
You both are courageous, and truly it gives someone like myself that is experiencing this now just hope and faith. And so truly, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Thank you both for sharing this, because you're both pillars of strength and hope.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
This has been fantastic. I truly appreciate you both sharing just about the book and about your journeys and your stories. Seeing you both together puts a smile on my face, and I can see the light and love between you two.
Thank you. My best friend here.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Before we wrap up, and on a little bit lighter note, we have at the end of each interview, we have some more fun and lighthearted questions just to learn about both of you. You guys get a chance to look at them on the questions that we had sent over.
A little bit.
Before we jump into that, is there anything more either of you want to share about the book to the audience of people that may be listening?
Well, just know that we understand that grief is hard, but we want you to know that, particularly this time of year too, with the holiday season, some of you are going to have loved ones that won't be around your dinner table that you had last year or the year before. When you're opening presents around the Christmas tree, you won't have that gift there for your loved one that is now gone to be with the Lord. but just know that you're stronger than you think, that you're loved, that you're needed, and you will get through grief in due time. But it's your time and nobody else's time but yours. And we love you. We're going to reach out to you through the cameras and just let you know that we love you and we care about you. And but you will get through your grief, but on your time. That's
well said, sweetheart.
Very well said. I'm not going to follow that up. I second everything that she said. That was beautiful. All right. On a lighter note, let's talk about some fun questions just to learn a little bit more about both of you.
Okay.
So, what would you say is a movie that defines you, that you love?
Jordan, I don't really have a movie.
That's okay.
Yeah, I don't really have a movie that defines me.
No? Book,
No.
TV show, anything come to mind?
I would say, as far as not even a TV show, when I was younger, I used to love watching the Brady Bunch because
great.
we had 7 kids, and they had a big family, so I really liked that.
Yeah.
I also like what was that show? I can't think. With Jasmine Guy on it.
I'm not sure.
Oh, you were young, so you don't know.
Showing my age, Valerie.
Yes,
Oh, no.
I can't remember. I'm showing my age. But I think a book that defines me would be our book, Good Grief, A Journey from Lost to Love.
Yeah.
I think that really defines who I am.
It's beautiful.
Because it tells you about my journey that started when I was 10 years old. I think that at that age, I was just beginning to know who my mother was. I have a little bit of memory because my older brothers, they were in their teens. And then my youngest brother was like 3 years old. So he doesn't really have any kind of sense of, I'm sure, my mom, just pictures and stuff, but he was young. He was a baby, that sort of thing. So I feel that our book defines who I am. I want to say this about the book. I worked on my dissertation twice, and I never, I should say my doctorate twice, but I never finished my dissertation. I went to 2 different schools. But writing this book, I think this is the book that God wanted me to write. And he was saying to me, everybody can't be a PhD or get their EDD, that sort of thing. And I'm fine with that. But this is the book that he really wanted me to write and to share.
Yeah.
To help others, So.
And you should be really proud of it.
Thank you.
You should be really proud of it. I'm proud of both of you.
Well, thank you,
yeah,
Jordan.
it's impactful. It's a beautiful
I just
book.
thought about the TV show. A different world. A different world.
All right.
Yeah, a different world. Because it talks about college life and that sort of thing. And Jasmine Guy was on there, but a different world. Those were
Brady Bunch in a different world. And Good Grief.
Yes.
The number one.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right.
Well, you know what? One of the stories, TV shows that I really, really liked was The Jeffersons.
Nice.
I love George Jefferson. He was comedic. He was funny. He was proud of his race. He was a businessman, smart. Bought one shop, bought another shop. So that impacted me, to want to be a great person, a great business person,
Yep.
And he moved on up.
Yeah, he moved up.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, next question. What is a purchase that you've made for under $100 that you would say has had the biggest impact on your life? It could be anything.
I would say the Bible. The Bible. Because I do a lot of meditating in the mornings.
You have the same Bible from a kid, right?
Yes.
I read it in the book.
Yeah, that's also in the book.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I got that book when I was 10 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've had that for your whole life.
Yeah, I've had it my whole life.
That's
but
amazing.
I've purchased, other
Additional
Bibles,
ones,
the
yeah.
additional ones, but the Bible would be a book that has, helped me and helped others.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? I think my purchase was a book. It was the natural cures book that they don't want you to know
Yeah.
about because it has so many natural cures, and it opened me up to what doctors are thinking. And this guy, he was an insider, so he had inside information. So it really changed me in how I thought about doctors, and my health, what I should be doing and, take care of certain things.
Yeah.
So that had a great impact on me.
It's one of those books that shares with you information that if you don't know it,
Yeah.
you don't know it. But once you know it,
Yeah.
it opens up a whole new world to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Next question. Where do you feel most present in the world? Most in the moment, most present? Where are you? What are you doing?
I would say at the gym. Yeah. Because I love to
Same.
work. Yeah. I love to work out.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, the day that John passed, I was leaving the gym when I got that last phone call from him. But in the gym, that's where I that's my happy place. The gym. Yes.
Me too. It's my sanctuary.
Yeah.
All of us, really. We all love it.
Yeah, I love the gym.
Absolutely.
Fred, how about you?
You know what? I think it's being around Valerie. Because she always encourages me. She always wants me to be the best person that I can be. So I'm in my best place when I'm around her and we conversate and we talking about life in general.
Yeah. Thank you.
That warms my heart, man.
Yeah.
Just hearing that.
And I didn't know that.
No.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I know. See,
Yeah.
and I was thinking of things that, like, when we be talking, I said, gosh, I wish I had put that in the book about Carolyn because things still come up, you know?
Right. Well, we can put it in our next
I was going to say, guys,
it
I'm
ain't too
assuming
late.
you're going to write another book.
Yes, yes. Everybody wants to know about our love life.
You can't stop now. This
No.
is just the beginning.
Right.
This is just the
Absolutely.
beginning.
Right.
Couple questions left. What is a skill that you don't have, but you would love to learn?
Well, since we've been doing our marketing, all of the marketing ourselves, I would love to learn all the different applications and things like that. Like I'm learning TikTok now.
Yeah.
And I know that I asked Colin about the different apps and that sort of thing. He says, "Mom, you just have to kind of play with it and learn it." And, so that's what I'm working on now. Just the different applications of how to market our book and do all the different things that I see on all the different social media platforms and things like that. So
nice.
Yeah.
It's a lot. So good luck on your journey.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I think one of the skills I would like is web design because we pay our editor pretty good to change our pictures.
Yes.
So learn some skills.
Yes. All the other things, it requires great balance and that, I'm too old to get hurt,
No, I get it. That's part of the reasons even doing this show, being able to set this stuff up ourselves. You save a lot of money.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because she told us, she says, "No, don't touch the web page. I'll get that done for you and everything like that. Because if you mess it up, it's hard to, fix it."
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So what we've done is, we're trying to learn the different apps out there to market our book, like TikTok and some of the other things, I can't think of off my head, but on Facebook and on IG and on Twitter and LinkedIn and, et cetera, et cetera.
How to get the most out of social media.
Right.
That's our goal.
Well, we'll have to talk outside of this about some different ideas.
Yeah.
All right.
That's I got you guys. I got you, Fred. Okay, next question. How do you both, because I know you're both hardworking and on the go, how do you rest and recover? What's a day of recuperation look like for you?
Just at home, just being leisure, resting, watching something on television. We try to travel when we can.
Nice.
I love going down up to his mother's house, I should say.
Yes.
Fred's from Waysboro,
Nice.
North Carolina. So it's in the country. It's hard to get any type of the Wi-Fi you can't get.
Right.
Cell phones won't work. But I love being around his mother. She's 91 years young, and
Wow.
she's just a blessing because I don't have my mother.
Yes.
So
I'm sharing mine.
yeah. So I love being around his mom.
Yeah.
She has this warm, caring, loving spirit.
That's where I got it from.
Yeah,
right?
and that's exactly right. That's
There you
exactly
go.
where Fred reminds me a lot of his mom,
Yeah.
and I see where he gets all of his loving and caring and everything.
Well, that's part of my edge.
Yeah.
You're getting ahead already. There you go. Well, that's beautiful though that you get to have a relationship with his mother and you get to share that.
Yes,
Right.
Again, that
absolutely.
interconnectedness,
Right.
Mhm.
walking those parallel paths.
Yes.
And I've given him a granddaughter.
Mhm.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I love her to death.
Yes.
Chloe's
You know,
cute.
yes.
She's so cute.
You know, it's funny. I had a grandson. She has a granddaughter. So now we both had 2 grandkids.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's when you bring families together. Just
Yes.
this past weekend, my sister-in-law, she graduated college, and we had the big family dinner, and I sat next to the grandparents. I lost both my grandfathers, so I never had a grandfather grow.
Mm-hmm.
3 hours I got to hang out with them and just talk. And
Amazing.
I told, like, my wife was watching. She's like, they're your grandparents too. And I said, I know, it's great. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
You get to share that together.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
I was lucky enough to know both of my grandparents, and and they both was hardworking men. They both grew up on the farm country.
Yeah.
Both of my granddad. One of my granddads, he was a sharecropper. My father's daddy, he was a farmer. He grew cotton. He grew soybean. We had to do all the work.
Yeah. And but you learned a lot.
But it made who I am today.
Exactly.
Respect hard work. Respect people. And we was too busy to get into trouble.
Oh, that's great. That's great. All right. Last question, which you kind of already alluded to. What do you believe is your edge in life?
I think motivating others and inspiring others.
Yes.
A lot of people tell me that I inspire them. Oftentimes I'll post pictures of me going to the gym and working out. And matter of fact, we ran into one of my classmates. We happened to go to a family event during Thanksgiving holiday and in Durham.
Oh, yes.
And I noticed on Facebook that one of my classmates, she and her husband were there, and they're from Minnesota, but they were there helping their son and daughter-in-law find a house. And so we met up and everything. And then she shared with me that another classmate and her, I'm their inspiration about, going to the gym and motivating them and that sort of thing. So I would just say motivating folks and inspiring people. That would be my edge. And walking in the purpose that God has, wants me to walk in. Because last week I became an independent travel agent.
Wow.
So I'm doing that now with IntelliTravel. So
Congratulations.
that's a new adventure for me. So yeah.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. You're a great communicator, and you have a really strong voice that is easy to listen to. During the interview, I'm like, she's running the show today.
It took years of practice. 31 years.
Yeah, I was in education.
Well, it shows. It shows.
Yeah, principal for 13 years, but 31 years. And February 1st of 2022, it'll be 11 years since I've been retired.
Wow.
Yeah, so God keeps reinventing me.
Yeah.
Yeah, he keeps reinventing me.
And adding on to skills you had before and applying them to your next venture.
Yes.
That's how I look at it too.
Right.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of people think that when you retire, that's it. I had several people to share with me that, maybe you can be an adjunct professor, or maybe you can go back and sub as a principal, when principals are out or spend half day in a school somewhere doing different things. I was like, no, I've done that.
Yeah.
I have more to give, and more talents that God has blessed me with, to do. So, I mean, at the time when I retired in 2011, I didn't think by this year, 2021, I'm an author of a book.
Yeah.
And now I just became an independent travel agent, and we'll see what God has, next for me to do. So
Well, I'm
Yeah.
excited to
But I'm
watch
real
and see.
excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fred, what do you think is your edge in life?
My edge is being a good listener, you know. I think being a husband, you have to be a good listener.
Oh, I've learned. I've learned.
Yes, but that
And
I
we're
think,
always right.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
So
Yes, ma'am.
I think that gives me the edge, you know, because it's important that you listen, and a lot of times you learn more about what you don't hear a person say rather than what they do say.
Yep.
Because they make a lot of noise, but if they don't say certain things, they truly not being as honest as they should be.
Yeah. Absolutely. Being a good listener will
Yeah.
get you very far in life.
Yes.
You avoid a lot of issues.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's great. Well,
Mhm.
seriously, thank you both so much for this interview today. And
You're quite welcome.
number one, having the courage to create this book and share that story, because there's millions of people that have gone through grief that would not do something like this. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, because
My
I know
pleasure.
it helps me and it helps a lot of other people. And thank you both for coming on the show and talking about this today. For anyone that wants to buy this, where can we send people? Where should we tell them to buy it from?
And tell them, baby. And for the first 5 people who email us, we'll send them a free book.
Even better.
Yes,
Even better.
yes,
Done.
yes. The first 5 people who will go on softtouchpublishing.com, just send us an email. Go to our website, softtouchpublishing.com. Send us an email, and the first 5 people, and we'll send you a copy of our book. But that's where you can order the book.
Yep.
You know, and we'll send you an autographed copy.
There you go.
Yeah,
You got to get
autographed
it.
copy.
You got to
Yes,
get
sir.
it.
You can find it on Amazon as well.
Right, it's on Amazon, but we
But-
have the link on our page.
On our
Yep.
page.
Yeah.
So it has all our
Yeah.
social media sites. So go follow us, love us, like us.
Yes. And
All
we're
right.
when we're on Instagram, we're linked to. You can go to our web page, and we're linked to Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
Yep.
Yeah, Twitter. Yes.
Well, there you have it, guys. Good Grief, a journey from loss to love. If you're not dealing with something like this, but you know someone in your life that is, this would be a great book to give to them. Or maybe you get this for yourself now and you don't touch it for a little while. You wait until you're ready. Either way, I just went through the book myself. Although it is challenging, it really will help you process your grief. To everyone that has watched and tuned in today, thank you guys so much for watching and supporting us. We are here for you. We love you, and we will see you next time. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.